Barrister Ray is a Christian. I like the way you put your profile, your cover photo. I love it. I'm going to adopt it so you know. Just so you know, I'm going to adopt it. He's a
Thank you.
Christian, a marketplace apostle. He's an entrepreneur. Of course, the GMD of the Fortreal brand. He's the GMD of the Fortreal brand. He's a property lawyer. He's he's a property lawyer for investors, for realtors and developers. He's a coach to the realtors and to agents as well. He's a leader, a transformative force. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Barrister Ray. Barrister Raymond Ijoma is coming with 5 years, half a decade of experience, both as a property lawyer and also as a real estate entrepreneur. I mean, who else is more qualified to teach us tonight on how to carry out due diligence as a realtor? Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Barrister Raymond. Good to have you here, sir. Someone said,
Good
I
evening
missed
to you, sir.
Barrister. Mehdi said, I missed you, Barrister Ray. Nice to have you here again.
Thank you. I appreciate. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Welcome.
Is it loud enough?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you clearly.
All right, let's go. So I'm going to first, thank you so much, my bishop of real estate. I mean, if we were man and woman or woman and man, we could have said we had this chemistry. So let's just say the chemistry we have is for real estate and for money, right? And so far, we've watched each other grow in the business of real estate, and it is really amazing to see that we are collaboratively doing our best to ensure that we get better.
Yeah.
Then importantly, we are able to reach the peak of this thing, right? So, thank you. It's always a pleasure being here. So I'll just go straight. First, let me be frank with us. This topic, how to carry out due diligence, there's no way I can have this conversation with you completely in one day. It is not possible. I'm going to be frank with you. So right from this very moment, please have it at the back of your mind. I'm going to try as much as I can. Usually I like to rush, but then again, I realize that it's not good to sacrifice content and value on the altar of time. So wherever we're able to end, we just leave it there. So I'll just quickly give you a breakdown of what we would be looking at. So we're first of all going to look at what is due diligence, right? And then thereafter, we're going to briefly look at the importance of due diligence, and then what you need to carry out due diligence. What do you need to be able to properly carry out due diligence? That's the third part. And the fourth part is how to carry out due diligence. Because how to is dependent on what you know that will determine if you are able to carry it out properly. And then we're also now going to take it to the next level, which is entities you can market and sell for as a realtor. And then thereafter, we now dig into the point where we talk about the steps, levels, and processes to due diligence. Steps, levels, and processes of due diligence. So that's where I'm going to run it on. So let's get started. First, what is due diligence? According to Cambridge Dictionary, it simply says due diligence is the action that is considered reasonable for people to be expected. Or let me read it properly. Action that is considered reasonable for people to carry out in order to keep themselves or others and their property safe. In other words, they are saying that due diligence is what you do, a responsibility you perform, an action that you carry out reasonably in order for you first to be safe, and the property of others, or whatever you are doing generally as it relates to yourself and others, to be safe. So altogether, safety is the ultimate essence of due diligence. So that the importance of due diligence: number one, safety; number two, sustainability; and number three, reputation. Number one, safety; number two, sustainability; and number three, reputation. Now, the definition already made it clear to us that safety is part of the essence of due diligence for yourself and that of your client. So, as I said in one of my books, that prior to having them go through the rest of the book, I clearly told them that if you are the type of realtor that just wants to sell property, that just like, or you're the type of realtor that is just a salesperson, then you shouldn't bother reading the book to the end. But if you are the type of realtor that wants to go beyond being a salesperson, beyond just selling real estate, and going to the point where you are considered an authority, a consultant, then you can read further. So let me also further say here that if you are the type of realtor that just wants to be a salesperson, then this session is not for you. This session is for realtors who are going beyond being just salespersons to people who can be trusted, who have authority, or who are considered authorities in the business of real estate. And importantly, altogether, being consultants, being authorities, being trustworthy or trusted, all of this together will guarantee you making more money. It is a guarantee. It is a guarantee, right? Because as I like to tell my realtors that, I mean, anybody can just wake up and boom, I'm a realtor. Boom,
Yeah.
I'm now a real estate entrepreneur. I'm now a real estate consultant. It doesn't take 5 minutes. You change your bio, change your Instagram picture, change everything. I'm now a realtor, real estate consultant. Anybody can do that. But what makes the difference is what you know and how far you are willing to go in the business of real estate, right? So first, safety is one importance of due diligence. And the reason you will look out for these three things is if you are not just a salesperson. The only reason you will pay attention to safety for yourself and for your client, sustainability of what, because real estate is not parfait. Real estate is not shawarma. You don't just buy it and eat it and boom, that's all.
Yeah.
Real estate is a product that is expected to be there forever, even after you have lived, enjoy planet Earth, and decide to travel or transcend to the heavenly abode, right? So it means that at every point in selling real estate, you must pay attention to the sustainability of that product, that land, that property you are selling. In fact, real estate, the land you are selling will be there, and you most likely would have forgotten how much you were paid as commission. So you really need to pay attention to the sustainability of what you are selling, right? And then lastly, your reputation. And this again is beyond those who just want to be salesperson, right? Some of us really want to keep our reputation in check, right? So that's that. And then what you need to carry out due diligence properly. What do you need to carry out due diligence? Number one, knowledge of real estate. Number one, knowledge of real estate. If you don't know real estate generally, then you may never be able to carry out due diligence properly. Because at that point, it basically means that you most likely would not know the difference between a carcass and possibly semi-finished apartment. You may not know the difference between a bungalow and a duplex, a semi-detached duplex and an apartment. You necessarily may not know certain important things as relates to real estate. You ordinarily may not even respectfully. Okay, I'm sure the person would not be watching this. We had one of these interviews that we had, and for somebody who came to market real estate for a real estate company, you came and you cannot or you couldn't define real estate. It didn't make sense to me, but that's the reality of what we get to see every day.
Yeah.
Someone chatted me up yesterday or so, a realtor, supposed realtor, and he's asking me if a land can be sold that doesn't have tax clearance certificate. And in my mind, I'm asking myself, what is the connection between selling land and tax clearance certificate? And sincerely, Jeff, I've seen in recent times, I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot as relates to. So altogether, your knowledge of real estate will determine how you are able to properly carry out due diligence. If you don't know real estate at basic level, forget it. In fact, in my opinion, I would advise you not to stay at the basic level. Go over and beyond. Right? And the second thing you need as it relates to what you need to carry out due diligence properly is a knowledge of property law. That's majorly part of what we're going to be discussing today. Knowledge of property law, knowledge of real estate law, right? Because as I like to tell realtors, I mean, Jeff, I don't know when you bought your last car, could you kindly let me just make it a question. When you went to buy the car, did you at any point just focus on the body of the car, or did you possibly, look into the engine?
Of course, I looked into the engine.
Why? Could you tell us why? Why not just? I know the car, the body was very fine. I'm sure it's still very fine if you are maintaining it properly. I saw the car that day, so it's still very fine. So, wouldn't you have possibly focused on the body alone?
Well, I'm
sure it's the body that the clients look at, right? Taking clients for inspection, they need to look at the body. If the body, it's the body they focus on, right?
Yeah, obviously.
So why bother focusing on? For you now, why bother checking on the engine?
Well, the engine is as important as the body.
Okay.
The engine is what actually, in fact, it's even the engine that is the actual stuff that makes the car move. Otherwise, there's no difference between the car and a house. So the engine.
Okay. So as I like to tell realtors that you don't go and buy a car and you just love the body alone. You don't go and buy a car and it's a Rolls Royce. Even if it's a Rolls Royce, the body without an engine cannot move. It's useless, right? And so I like to say that law is the engine of real estate. Because some persons like to focus on the environment. The environment is fine. The location makes sense. The house is amazing, right? But they forget to ask the question of what is the title on the land, the legalities of the land, because what determines if that car or that house can be sold is if it has a title document. What will determine if your child can properly inherit that property is if it has a title document. I've had, in my capacity as a lawyer, I've had to attend to a number of transactions of people who their parents had died, and after the parent or the father, specifically, it happens a lot with fathers. After they had lived and passed on, their children are not able to properly inherit their property because there was no title document. Right? So at the end of the day, it is the title document that determines the sustainability of the property you are buying. It's not just about the physicality of the property. You need to pay attention to the legality of that property. So as a realtor, you are in the position to guide your clients properly so that they don't just pay attention to the physicalities. They don't just pay attention to the physical, the location, the beauty, the access road and all of that, and ignore the property. And you as a realtor should never do that. You as a realtor should never do that. So altogether, I'm saying here quickly that the knowledge of law determines if you will be able to properly carry out due diligence. So yesterday, on Saturday, I was having a session with our realtors. And in the course of the conversation, I asked the question of what is the difference between a scission and a certificate of occupancy. No, the question I asked was what's the difference between a gazette and a certificate of occupancy. And respectfully, nobody online was able to answer that question. So if a land now has a gazette and you are expected to carry out due diligence on that property, what will you do when you don't even understand the basic difference between a certificate of occupancy and a gazette? What question will you even be asking when you are carrying out due diligence as it relates to that property? In fact, you may not even be able to tell the difference already, and it's even the reason why you would consider certain companies to be doing the wrong thing, whereas we are the one that is living and respectfully wallowing in ignorance. I hope I'm not being rude yet. I hope. Right? So the knowledge of real estate is critical. Last week, and see, the more you grow in the business of real estate, the more you are going, especially when you begin to do transactions beyond 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, as you are climbing the ladder, you are now going to meet clients who will not drop a kobo until you speak to their lawyer.
Yeah.
You will grow. If you are still doing 500k lands, that maybe you can just ignore what I'm saying. But when you get to the point, except you don't want to grow in the business, if you really want to grow, you are definitely going to get to a point where a client will not drop 1 naira until you speak to his lawyer. And when you speak to his lawyer, you have to answer questions.
Yeah.
What is the title on the land? And at that point, are you going to stammer or you are going to really? Because I was telling them on Saturday as well that every point, there are very rare moments that a client gives to you, that those moments are very critical. In church, there's this kairos moment. There are some, I think, that's the phrase, kairos moment. There are very critical moments that clients give you opportunity to show yourself. Yeah. And those opportunities, they don't come every moment at every point, right? They are very rare. So you see how you get an opportunity that the client is asking you the difference, or a client is telling you that I need a party that has, some clients ask very funny questions, right? So at those points, you seize the opportunity to educate the clients.
Yeah.
Those are very rare, important moments in real estate transactions that you grab them and show yourself. It is not being braggadocious, it is proving yourself. It is an opportunity to earn more trust. It's an opportunity to sell the perspective of the fact that you know what you are doing, and that client can trust you, refer you, and buy from you. No, trust you, buy from you, and refer you to another person. And it is only on the basis of knowledge of real estate, or the law of real estate, or property law, that you are able to grab those moments and do your best and give your best. Right? So knowledge of law is extremely critical. And number 3, experience in real estate transactions. We can't downplay the place of experience. You can't be in your room and just be marketing those type of transactions. Those once they post on the group, you carry it and post on your WhatsApp status. You don't get experience by doing it. Oh God. That you don't get experience. It is when you go to the field, go and do this thing. That's when you begin. Eventually, after posting on your WhatsApp status, you get the client. Instead of you to even follow the client on inspection, you will refer the clients to somebody else to go on inspection for somebody maybe you trust in a company. Go and do this. So how do you gain experience from all of that? The third way rather, that you are able to carry out due diligence properly is your experience on ground. I'm telling you for free as a lawyer. Let me quickly add that. Okay. Let me make it balanced a bit. when I said it on Saturday, I was speaking. Nobody was recording, but now it's being recorded. So let me calm down and respect myself. So there are some of my clients, some of my colleagues rather, who possibly are doing criminal law and doing intellectual law, doing marine law, that necessarily do not know property law very well. In the course of doing this, I've had a lot of my call mates call me and say, Raymond, how do I do it? Very basic things that you are expected to know, that you need to know. Now, you're just knowing these things that those lawyers ordinarily do not know. What you do in the field, what I was taught at the law school, is not enough. What I've learned on the field is so critical to how I am able to do this. So sometimes when they call to ask those questions, what they do not understand is that I didn't necessarily get that knowledge from the classroom, from the university, or from the law school. What they actually do not know is that there is an experience that you get in the field that you will never get doing this thing. So as a lawyer, I'm giving you that for free. Now, as a realtor, you need to go that extra mile, because it is in going that extra mile that you are able to properly know how to ask the right questions, right? So now, how to carry out due diligence properly? First, understand the context to the transaction you are involved in. Every real estate transaction has a context. Every real estate transaction has its circumstance. There is no straight line conversation to real estate transaction. There is no one answer to a real estate question. So it means that you need to be versatile. When you are dealing or you are having a transaction with a community, it is a different conversation entirely. If you are having a transaction with a family, a real estate company, it is that different transactions entirely. Now, even if you are dealing with a company consistently, there are different issues when what they have is a power of attorney. What the company has as title is a CFO, or is an approved decision, or it is a gazette. So in all of these at different levels, it is never a straight line conversation. So you need to be able to understand the context of the present transaction you are in before you can know the next step to take. If you are buying land from a community that has no document on it, you have no point, you have no reason to go and do a search for a certificate of occupancy. Because you will not find anything. Why? Simply because you are dealing with an unregistered title. Like I discussed in the Realtor's Law course, in fact, at the time I did the Realtor's Law course, I had two basic differences, or two separate definitions or differences to this: equitable title and legal title. Equitable title and legal title. And I've further broken down equitable title to transaction and custom. At the time I did the Realtor's Law course, I didn't do that. But going further into the business of real estate, the law and the field of real estate, I've realized that under equitable title, there is the part where you have to look at customary title as well as transactional title. Like I said, there's no way I can finish this, so I'm just trying to calm myself down and doing this as much as I can. So one thing you must pick from this is that context determines how you carry out due diligence. Context, that particular transaction. You can have 10 transactions, and each of them will require different types and different levels of due diligence, right? And so let's go now. So there are like 5 individuals. Again, You see, we learn every day, right? At the time I did the Realtor's Law course, when I did this part in the video, in the part where I talked about entities you market and sell for, I used four entities. Let me call them entities. Number one, individuals. Number two, families, communities, and companies. Now I have added government. So you learn every day, you grow every day, and it is in doing the business that you are able to expand yourself in a bit to grow. Without doing, there is no growth.
Yeah.
Somebody should type that down. Without doing, there is no growth. Right? So now I am saying that tomorrow or sometime next year, I might say there are like 6 people or 6 entities now. Right? But today when I'm speaking to you, I am saying that there are like 5 entities that you can market and sell real estate for. Number 1, individuals. Number 2, families. Number 3, community. Number 4, companies, real estate companies. And number 5, government. So for individuals, when you are selling the property for marketing the property for an individual, right? What do I expect to do? I think I should generalize this. If I have to do them one after the other, I won't be able to go into the steps. So let me just rush through it. I'll just breeze through it. So for the individual, if you want to carry out diligence when you're marketing or selling for an individual, now your first question, of course, should be, what is the title on the land?
Yeah.
For me, another thing I look at is, what is the reputation of this man or this woman? This is not legal, but I pay critical attention to this. I remember there was this transaction that I did. I think it was even early in the business, and a lot was at stake in the transaction because I had to travel. If anything went wrong with that transaction, it means that I have to be traveling every week or have to spend weeks in the hotel to resolve that issue. So one of the critical things I looked at in defining the person to prioritize and now do investigation. So I had to put all of them together, all the lands were checked. I first had to look at who are the people selling this before I now went for that to what's the title or what the land holds itself. So when I looked at the criteria of who is selling this, there are some people that when they sell a property to you, if anything happens to that property, forget it, or you are on your own. And even you that bought the property, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't even, there are some people that when you buy lands from them, you can't even take police to go and arrest them.
True.
There are some of that persons that when you buy properties from them, if they hear about an issue in respect of that property, they will carry it on their head because they don't want anything to happen to their name. So personally, I look at who you are as an individual before I even say, okay, come on, let's try this out. Then secondly, I now go for that and say, okay, I've seen you. I think I like you. I think I can trust you. Then I begin to ask the question of this land, what is the title? Secondly, how long have you owned this property? How long have you been in possession of this property? Because how long we also tell. Because if, for example, this is 2023 and the land has been in existence since 2007, if there was an issue, most likely by now, the matter would have gotten to the peak. And then again, I also look at, so the issue of possession is important, and there are times when the person may not have taken possession. So by possession, I technically mean doing something on the ground, laying the foundation or something. There are some other times where you're doing investigation, and it is ordinarily expected that once you lay block on that ground, if there's an issue on the land, over a period of time, it will come out. Because if it's on my land and I lay a block, the next person or somehow I'm able to find out that okay, they don't lay block for your land, Oga, and then matter don't solve. Right. So altogether, that is also one tiny part of this kind of investigation that you need to carry when you're buying from an individual. So altogether, the next question is the question of what is the title. The answer to that question will determine the next level of action you are going to take. Now, as it relates to, so what if the person now, if the person says something like, okay, I have a community document, I have a community paper. Let me use the general phrase community paper because there are different names that people call it. I had somebody who wanted to buy a property in Kano. And when I picked the community paper, they wrote everything on the paper in Hausa. And I'm like, Oga, how? I want to do this one now. All right, so let me just call it community paper, right? So when the individual presents a community paper to you, one thing you should now look out for is who are the people who signed this paper? Because when you're buying the property from a land from a community, you will have to pay attention to the constituted authorities, people who are the custodians. By law, if a community sells the land without the constituted authorities, importantly, the head of the community at that point in time, if a community sells the land without that is an issue, right? So the constituted authorities of that community is critical. Somebody sent a document to me some days ago, last weeks now. I was supposed to do the prepared that document, community paper. And in the community paper, I realized that the head of the community did not sign.
Wow.
So I had to reach back immediately. Guess what they said? They said the community head had died.
Oh.
And it is the elders and the other persons that are signing it. Now, because I understand the custom of that community, and as a matter of fact, beyond understanding the custom of that community, first of all, just have that at the back of your mind that there are people who are expected to be constituted authorities in that area. So before you begin to market that product or sell that property, you need to ask yourself the question of who are the people? I mean, it doesn't have to ask the question. Who are the people who are supposed to be? So, for instance, in Benin, you have people who you have Enoki, you have Fortreal Rei, in Delta, you have Opara, you have there are different names to this. So just simply find out who are the considered authorities, who are the people that are supposed to be in charge of this community at this time. So just check on that. And then another thing is you also need to look out for, so for instance, if Jeff is the one that bought the property from the community, and Jeff bought 100 by 100, right? Since Jeff bought 100 by 100 and Jeff wants to sell the entire 100 by 100 to me, it naturally means that Jeff should have the original copy of this land. True, of course. Now, if Jeff is giving me a photocopy of this land, there is an issue. So you need to now pay attention to what is presented to you. Right? And then another way to do investigation, especially as it relates to government land now, checking out government land is, so first, if the land is not surveyed, I would advise that you get a surveyor. Every return is a lawyer, a surveyor, Let me leave it as a surveyor. If any other one comes from another lesson. Now, get a surveyor, go to the site and pick the coordinates of that place. And then do a search. With the coordinates, even though it's not registered, with the coordinates, you can know if that place is government land or not. Right? And that part helps you to define that, to be sure that it's not a government land. Right? Especially when you are doing real estate in the bush, right? In the bush. Right, so that also helps you. What other thing can I share with you quickly on that? Let me go to the family so that I can quickly browse through some of them. So on that family, again, you need to pay attention. Who is the family head? A principal member of the family. So, for instance, in our family, Jeff is the head. Jeff's wife is an elder in the family. My wife is an elder in the family. If only me decide to sell property to you, that is void. VOID. By void, you can check the meaning of void. It means that, let me use written English, there's no good area. I, as a principal member, sell that property, there's no good area. So when you are selling a family property, somebody walks to me and says, oh, it's a family property. And once you hear family property, two questions you need to ask. Number one, who is the head of the family? Number two, if the person is saying, I am selling in my capacity as a family member, the question I need to ask is, what is the proof? As families shared the property? Because by law, most family lands are inalienable. By inalienable, it means it cannot be sold. So if there is an exception to that, you need to be sure that it has been clarified. You need to be sure that there is proof to that effect. So the only person now, if Jeff sells that property alone, remember I said Jeff is the head of the family. If Jeff sells that property alone, it is considered voidable. By voidable, it means that if I, as a principal member, applies to court and says Jeff sold wrongly, this property is a property that nobody should have sold. This is where we buried our father. Nobody should sell this property. But Jeff, as the head of the family, has gone ahead to sell it. I can succeed in court. If the court sees proof, sees evidence from my end that property is inalienable. Because ordinarily, only Jeff should not sell. But if Jeff had sold with principal members of the family, then that is good. So what do I advise my clients? Anytime you are dealing with families, to be safe, ensure that the family head has signed and the principal members of the family, at least two of them, at least two principal members, also sign that document, right? So if you're now, if an individual now walks up to me and says, oh, I am a top member of this family and this is my share of the property, what you should do is to ask for a document showing that the family had given that property to you. And at that point, you would possibly be requesting for a deed of sharing or a deed of partition, right? Signed by those important people in the family and the family head, right? Another place is another document that can also come in here is a document referred to as a deed of confirmation, right? I did it late last year. The guy didn't have anybody to show any document to show for his land, and they wanted to do a certificate for occupancy, right? So in fact, they had to fly into Nigeria because of that document, and then we had to call on the eldest person in the family, the head of the family, and then sending very important critical members of the family, and we're able to prepare documents referred to as a deed of confirmation. And beyond the document signing, I told him to let us film the entire process, film the old man signing. In the video, I explained to the old man what you are signing, everybody on, so that just helps to put together what is necessary. At that point, that man can eventually go further to sell that property because there's now a document to show that he owns that property. So basically, I think I'll just jump from family. Let me go to community. We've talked about community already. Community is literally the same, right? And then for a company, a lot of us do real estate companies. So I think I'm going to stay here a little bit. So the first thing you need to look at when you are doing anything for a company is find out if they are registered. Find out if they are not just registered, but registered as a limited liability company. If they are registered as a business name, in my opinion, this is not law. If they're registered as a business name, they are not serious. If they're registered as a business name again, this is now law. Make sure that they don't sell any property to you or your clients with their name. So for instance, you have Raymond Ventures as the name of the business name, right? They shouldn't use that name. You know how you do a transfer, assignor, assignee on the deed of assignment. They shouldn't use their name. for Raymond Ventures to sell to you because they do not have corporate personality to do that. When that happens, just know that conclusion that document is not competent. So just know that somebody gave a gift to somebody. If I mention his name, most of you will know the person. The company gave a gift to him. The company that gave that gift to him actually is registered as a business name, not registered as a limited liability company. And a lawyer, a very sound writing lawyer, commented in that post and said, every other person was saying, congratulations. And the lawyer asked the question. The situation stated was, I'm looking at the legality of this transaction. And me, I understood. Because I looked at the document as well, I knew that this clearly is a business name given gratitude. So altogether, that capacity to give that was not there. It's not there. So a lot will have to go into proving that property left the company and went to that guy. Because competence and capacity to give that was not there through the medium that it was done. Although, if we go equitably, the law or the court can look at the intent. But if you go technically, when you meet a lawyer that is bad technically, that document is defeated. There's nothing anybody can do about it. So, if you're marketing for a company, look at the legality. The only exception to that is if the person is selling and says Fortreal Ventures, then the owner of the company can bring in his name. And then the name of the business name in brackets. At that point, the person can safely say, okay, let's do this, because there's a human capacity, there's a human personality already that now backs up the company itself, the business name itself, right? Now, if it's a limited liability company, then that's the first thing you need to look at, and that's okay. Now, beyond being a limited liability company, you need to possibly find out if that company has the right to sell properties. If I want to take it to that high level, the law requires that before any company can sell a property, there has to be a board resolution. I've never said it online.
Okay.
At that, if you want to go really strict at that strict level, before a company can sell a property, there has to be a board resolution by the directors.
Wow.
But then again, there's something I do when I'm preparing that document for clients. With clients now, or for clients when it has to do with a company. Inside the document, I find a way to include a paragraph that fulfills the essence of that clause or that requirement. Because if the company really doesn't have, even though they own the property, if there's no, because some companies in their registration with CAC, they didn't state that they sell properties. So altogether, if you have to try and pay attention. Of course, if it's too deep, I think I shouldn't have said it, because I shouldn't have said it, but it's okay. I know that you may not be able to see the books of some companies, right? But as you deal generally, I think I'm just saying this because I know some of us will get to the point where we begin to do transactions in hundreds of millions, right? Yeah. So at that level, you need to really pay attention to very, very important things. I think that's pretty much there. Now, when you leave the realm of capacity to transfer or competence to transfer to relate to board resolution, you also now begin to look at what is the company, is title invested in the company. Now, altogether, I've realized now that a lot of companies, I did a video on that, you can go and watch it on Fortreal Media. So you realize that companies have, so for instance, my name is, I am Fortreal Rei Ltd, and there's a CFO that has my name on it. Fortreal Limited is on the CFO. Now, what companies now do? One, like I said in that video, that there is a transactional end to this, and there's another end to it that is pure scam. The transactional end is that we are paying. So Jeff is another company, Bradley Global. Bradley Global is another company. So Bradley Global intends to sell. So ordinarily, Fortreal Limited is supposed to sell properties to Bradley Global. But because Bradley Global is here to finish paying for that land, we are here to give Bradley Global a deed of assignment. Okay. Now, Bradley Global wants to sell to you. Now, before ordinarily, that legal level, before Bradley Global can completely sell to you, Fortreal Limited must have given title to Bradley Global. A contract of sale between Fortreal Limited and Bradley Global cannot transfer title to you. What is needed for Bradley Global to sell confidently to you or your client is a deed of assignment from Fortreal Limited to Bradley Global. Even though that party has a fee of O, that land is genuine. Everything about that land is genuine. Until Fortreal Limited, by way of a deed of assignment, gives Bradley Global that title and right to sell, Bradley Global cannot confidently sell to you. Because, and of course, I already explained which is the transactional end to it, which is the fact that Bradley Global has not finished paying. So it's possible that Bradley Global paid the 100 million and there's 50 million left, right? Until Bradley Global completes that 50 million, they cannot really sell to another person. And we, of course, are not giving deed of assignment. There's another end to this, which I use for a client. They bought the estate for 120 million and deposited only 20 million. But they have a title document, and I will not share that. That's my secret, right? How did they get a title document? Is because I did something on that. But beyond that, that is where most real estate companies now make a mistake. Because when you now bring in a lawyer and it's now interrogating Bradley Global will not have anything to show as title. And if you are the realtor, you will lose that deal. So that is a transactional end to it. So the only reason you are buying that, or you should trust or buy that product is to trust Bradley Global enough, and importantly, ensure that it's a contract of sale. Now, the scam end to it is that yes, there is a relationship between Bradley Global and Fortreal Limited, but Bradley Global has no intention of completing that payment, but uses the CFO of that document to sell to other people. So the moment realtors are selling, the party has CFO, the CFO. When you go and do a check on that party, you will see it that there's CFO. By the end of the day, everybody buying that product is buying from the wrong person, because there is no connection between Fortreal Limited and Bradley Global. We're not done with company. There's still government, and then the steps we have not even touched that. So I think I should attend to questions. It's 9:30, and that's 1 hour.
Yeah. Like I can't even believe the level of content. If you're not in this class, I mean, you need to watch this class over and over again. Please leave your questions in the comment section if you have any. I know this has been a lot to digest, but I have 2 questions, Mr. Ray, before other people begin to ask their own questions. Lucinda said, I'm getting so much value tonight. Absolutely, so much value. First question, sir. When you talked about buying from a family, how do you define who a principal for the transaction is? How do you define a principal when you talk about selling a family product?
Okay, so for instance, my family, my father, even though he's not the senior, the eldest, is considered as the head of the family.
Oh, okay.
So everybody knows that he's the head of the family. There are some families that the head of the family or the head of that family is only the head. It is the eldest.
Okay.
All right. Now, for the principal members of the family, uh, what you should look out for that is number one, possibly this. To define the principal members, you're looking at secretary. Who is the secretary? Uh, who are the cabinet, as it were? Who are the people who have some level of authority as it relates to that particular family? That's how you define them, right? So altogether, anybody associated at that level, anybody at that level of decision making in the family can be considered as the principal member of the family, right? There are usually many, right? All you have to do is to look out for the one that you think that, or the ones that you think that are up there, right? In fact, when you're in the family meeting, you necessarily the one that says, the one that greets everybody, welcome,
Yeah.
welcome, that one most
Yeah.
likely is the head. When you hear the others, the way they are talking, you necessarily could just pinpoint that, okay, be like this one or that, that kind of thing. So altogether, it's about their level of authority and decision making in the family. So it's not like there's a specific definition to who a creature of the family is by law, but you just look at their level of making decision in the family.
Sure.
But for the head, you need to that head is critical. You need to look out for the practice, the customary practice of that family or that community.
Okay, wow, wow, wow. Okay, that makes sense, boss. Thank you so much for that. Please, I have dropped a link to Barrister Rei's course in the comment section. You can't get, I mean, this class is just 1 hour and we're about to wrap up. If you don't have questions, we're going to wrap up soon. I mean, Barrister Rei has had a very long day. Doing business in Abuja is a lot of extra energy. So please, this is a link to his course. The Realtor's Law course is a complete course on real estate law for realtors. I left the link in the comment section. Please go click on it and make a purchase. If you have more questions, please ask the questions. I wanted to ask a question, Barrister Rei, before any other question comes up. I've not seen any question yet in the comment section. Another question. I wanted to ask a question. I mean, I had a question in my mind, but you already said is your little secret. But let me ask anyways. When a company, when a when a company is when marketing for a company and the company hasn't finished payments, all right? Of course, you already gave an answer, which I mean largely answers the question I'm about to ask. You were saying something like, if you trust, the the maybe director or MD of the company, you can go ahead to make that transaction or to sell for the company. I was going to ask, when a company hasn't completed their payments with the maybe community or the government or wherever they got or the family that they got the property from. So what they have currently is a contract of sale, and they have not been given the deed of assignment or the title document, as it were, of the property. How do you how do you how do you ensure that you are selling right to your client? I mean, that's the question I wanted to ask. But like I said, you already gave an answer. And you said something about. Would you want to shed a little more light on that?
Okay, so the thing is, legally speaking, nobody can sell a property to you without title, right? And now, in fact, doing business now in Abuja, I realized that there's a lot to doing real estate transactionally, and now even with government, right? So there are certain levels of doing real estate with government that you realize that government also gives you a document that is partial and that is dependent on meeting certain demands. Now, with that kind of context, that kind of circumstance, what you just have to do, you are left to fall back to the who the company is, their precedents, and what they have done in the past, and how they are able to meet up to their responsibilities. But altogether, for me, if you can avoid such transactions, please do. If you can't, then you need to pay attention to the reputation of the company. And importantly, in fact, a client called this evening. In fact, he was regretting buying a property without. He's regretting why he stumbled on my YouTube channel after he had spent a lot of money buying properties. Now he wants me to do a regularization on all the properties that he had bought. And one of the properties that we need to regularize, in that I was asking the question of, does he even have a contract of sale for one of them? That one, there's nothing to show. The only thing he has is a receipt, right? So in some of these circumstances, in fact, in any circumstance like this, always insist that there is a contract of sale. At least that helps to give you a transactional proof of what went down. That of course we've already established that it doesn't transfer title, but it helps to clarify certain terms and conditions. And of course, one of the things I said we're going to insist in the corner of say that we're going to work on with this company is that assuming there's any issue, the company will have to relocate you to another property. Relocate to another property of the same worth and value, or refund you the money that you spent on that property at the present market value. Right? So you could insist on that could be included in the contract of sale. Everything I discussed with you today are covered in the Realtor law course. Everything I discussed here covered, apart from the few ones I said. And yes, I usually have family meetings with people who have bought the Realtor law course, where I update them and educate them and just discuss and update them on some of the new things I've learned in the business. And they also have access to me to ask any question at any point they are dealing in the real estate sector.
Thank you, Barrister Ray. Totally appreciate that. I think that is still. Are you still there, Barrister Ray? Okay, I think the network has frozen. I think that is still actually. This is what the Realtor's course look like. It's actually a very complete course. And like he said, there is a community around the Realtor's course. I think that's what the link looks like. And it's a very complete course. I have bought it myself. And like you have seen tonight, the content, Barrister Ray understands the real estate law, property law very well, right? And you will get way more value when you purchase the course. And I can't even believe all the things we learned tonight is for free. I can't even believe it's for free. If you got value, let me know in the comment section. Please put your favorite emoji in the comment section if you got any form of value at all.